Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you another video to add to the new Horus Heresy playlist. So this will be video 2. The first video was on the first Primarch we did, which was Conrad Kurz. If you haven't gone and seen that video, there'll be a link showing up on the top of the screen here, which will bring you to that if you want to check that out. I'm particularly proud of that video. I think it turned out pretty well. So now I thought we'd go on to something a little bit more basic, and I would start working my way through the different legions color schemes. So we're going to start today with the first video, which is of course the cause of the entire thing. So we are going to be doing one of Horus's boys, the Sons of Horus, in that beautiful kind of almost like a mint green color. So I started off with some contrast and then a wash, and then I spent a little bit of time layering up, and I'm pretty happy with the result. So if you guys stick around at the end of the video, check it out and let me know what you think. Okay, step 1 of preparing the model for paint was to build it. I then sprayed it all over with Chaos Black and then gave it a heavy zenithal of Grey Seer. The heavy zenithal is basically an all-over coat of Grey Seer, but you're just kind of leaving the recesses a little bit darker. We're then going to move on to the contrast Terradon Turquoise and apply this all over the armor. So if you guys haven't worked with contrast and power armor before, there's a couple of key things you need to remember. One is you actually want to overload your brush. You want to have more contrast on your brush than you think you need when you're applying it to the armor. And then you want to pull away the excess. If you have too little contrast on your brush, you're basically going to scrape the bristles along the miniature, and that's what's going to give you all those horrible streaks and stuff. It's very easy to remove pooling. It's not so easy to remove it when the streaks dry a little bit, and because contrast doesn't reactivate, it's very hard to go over those and fix the problem later. So overload your brush, apply it in a nice thick coat in one section at a time. As you can see, I'm starting with the left leg, and I'm doing that entire piece first, getting rid of all of the pooling and make sure I'm happy with it, and then I'll move on and do the rest of the miniature. Of course, going to go into the chest as well, show you a slightly flatter and smoother area. As you can see, I applied quite a lot into like those recessed parts there in behind his chest armor and his side. And when the contrast is all applied and all dried, it should look something like this. I was actually quite surprised by how well this looked already, because the Mark III armor is all ridged everywhere. It's much smaller panels, and it actually sits really nicely with contrast. A nice quick step here, we're just going to use the contrast Black Templar and apply that to the gun casing. So obviously he's only got a bolt pistol here, but larger gun casings and stuff like that, whether it's heavy weapons or whether it's just a Phobos pattern bolter, just a quick coat of contrast Black Templar just to block in the casings of the bolter. Some people like all metallic bolters. I don't. I always prefer doing the casings a nice color. Next, move over to Retributor Armour Gold, and we're going to block in all of the gold parts of this miniature. So the hilt and pommel of the sword, the trim around the 2 shoulder pads, and I had to look this up. It's actually quite hard to get nice decent images of Mark III Sons of Horus armor. The banding around his forehead is also usually done in the gold. Sorry, sometimes the camera likes to focus on my thumb more than it does the miniature there. Usually having it on a painting handle stops that, but not always, so I apologize for that. So once you have the gold on all of the correct places, after the shoulder pad, being super careful with this bird, you don't want to hit any of that nice blue. We are going to go back and layer in the blue with some proper colors afterwards. But that's all of the gold trim that I thought this model deserved. There's obviously a lot of ridging like on other parts of the miniature you could do gold, but remembering that this is based in Horus Heresy, the models in Horus Heresy are a lot simpler than these days, less ostentatious, a lot less decoration, and basically more line infantry style than normal. We then go with a bit of Leadbelcher, and we just layer in, base coat in any of the metallic parts. So all the rest of the parts of the weapon, apart from the casing and the power sword blade, or power gladius blade. We have Blood Angel's red contrast, and that's just for his sergeant's head dress part. Can never remember the name of this thing. If anybody remembers the name of the headdress thing that denotes him as a sergeant, drop it in the comments below. Educate me. And with that, I would call this miniature fully base coated, and then going to go on and give it an all over coat of Nuln Oil. I know that may seem quite dark to you, and I promise you it will shade the model down really nicely. And of course we're going to layer it up moving forward, like the next step, and it will look really nice. I was actually, once again, quite happily surprised with how the miniature looked just after the base coats and a wash. You will see it now here in a second. I'll show you the entire model washed. I'm then going to take a few minutes to base the miniature itself, and then wait for all of the shades and all the basing to dry. And while I wait for everything on this miniature to dry until I can get onto the fun stage, which is the layering stage, I'm just going to take this opportunity to chat to you guys. Okay guys, while we wait for that shade to dry, I'm also going to take the time to base the miniature so that when we come back for the layering stage, it's kind of looking a lot more neat and tidy and ready to go. And while those bits and pieces are drying though, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you guys for following along with the video. Thank you very much for supporting me by watching the video. If you are enjoying yourself, make sure you give the video a like. If you have any questions about anything you do, or if you have any ideas on what the next Legion you would like to see me do is, put that in the comments below. And the algorithm tells me that only about a quarter of the people who watch my videos actually hit the subscribe button at the end. So it would mean a lot to me if you guys took this 2 seconds now to hit that subscribe button below to stay up to date with the rest of the videos that I will put out. If you see a real value in what I do and want to contribute to me and the Mediocre Hobbies channel even further, then there's links to all of my social stuff below, such as Patreon and the YouTube community. So thank you guys so much for watching, and let's get back to painting. Like I said before the break, I actually think that this miniature at this stage looks really, really well. Like if I had, 60 of these guys to paint for a tournament in 2 weeks time, I would take them to this standard. I would then maybe also paint in the eyes, but that's it. I would be delighted to put these on the table, and I would delight to see these on the table across from me. But if you have a little bit more time and you are so inclined that you want to push it a little bit further, then we go over to the Sons of Horus green layer paint, and we are going to layer up the armor. I actually find layering miniatures at this stage kind of therapeutic. I really enjoy this part. It can be a little bit slow. Like I find the brighter the armor color, so once you go into these light blues, yellows, or whites, it takes a little bit longer. You have to be a little bit more careful because any mistakes kind of stand out glaringly. Whereas if you're doing darker Legion armor sets, then the process goes a little bit quicker. So I would say that the layering process on this armor took me between 5 and 7 minutes to layer up the entire suit of armor. So if you're a batch painting these guys in say 10s and you got to this stage, you might want to set aside 2 hours to layer up the entire squad. So like an evening of painting just to do that. But you can get the entire squad up to this stage in maybe an hour, and then you might need another hour of painting. So maybe 4 hours painting total to get the entire 10-man squad done, which I don't think is particularly bad going. So here's the entire armor layered. Next, we're going to highlight or layer up the casing on the bolt pistol. I just went for a bit of Corvus Black for this. If you don't know what Corvus Black is, it's black with just a touch of grey to it. So it's really, 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 really dark grey as opposed to black. It just kind of gives you a little bit less of a flat finish on the pistol. I've tended to move towards that for layering purposes. Then we're going to move over to Leadbelcher. We're going to bring up the blade, the metallics on the pistol, and we are going to do what I've been doing in a lot of tutorials in the last couple of weeks, which is highlighting the golds that I've done using just Leadbelcher. I don't go back to gold at all. I just do these kind of dot highlights across the gold parts, any of the rivets, any of these kind of like, it's almost like cross hatching almost. Just a little bit less thought put into it than cross hatching. And I think the result is this really nice burnished gold. And I think that suits the Legion style of armor even more. These guys had arming chambers each. These would take care of their armor, but they would still be quite old. And I think the result is really nice. I've also taken the opportunity when I had the Leadbelcher to fill in the eye lenses with silver. And that's just a little trick that I picked up. I then go in with contrast whatever color I want the eye lenses to be. So for this, I thought it would be nice to do them in red. So I went back to that Blood Angels red contrast and just painted in the eye sockets that I'd already done previously with silver. And that leaves you with these really nice kind of glowy eye lenses. The last step is to highlight his plume, bit of Mephiston Red, just catching the basically the bottom 2/3 of the hair bits thingies, and leaving the darker color closest to the actual head itself. Just this makes it look nice and neat and tidy, and makes it look kind of has a little bit of depth to it. And this is the final result. With this, I would call this Marine finished. This is only part 1 of my Horus Heresy painting series. I've done a Primarch as well for this series, but I am going to attempt to do each and every Legion in the series. So like I said before, if you guys have any ideas on what's the next Legion you would love to see me do, make sure you drop it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for sticking around till the end of the video, and I'll see you in the next one.